validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Extra special shout out to Satellite. Mr. Satellite dove in right before the show. I'm queuing up, he's queuing up too. He was in here like first, y'all. I'm gonna give it to him anyway. He was here. He earned this. He earned Mr. Satellite. He's actually doing it better than Ric Flair right now, styling and profiling. So as we do our small tribute to Mr. Satellite for diving in right before the show, I want to make sure that you guys know that y'all can like and subscribe. Y'all can always join that membership, utilize those reaction buttons, show the algorithm that we're here. You know, one of the most underrated, informative podcasts that anybody can ever get involved in. So definitely share that out there. You know, I'm going to throw out a special shout out to Usman. He's going to be coming in pretty soon. We're going to be doing another shout out to Bayside. We know Bayside's going to be coming through, as well as Carl should slide in today. And Rev Chat 76. You know, Rev Chat been in here just about every night this week as well. We've been dealing with some insightful questions from Rev and Bayside over the past couple of days. So today we're going to be diving into Ukraine. And since we're going to be diving into Ukraine, we're going to be able to have some very compelling conversation because we're going to be talking about how to invest in Ukraine and make some money off of Ukraine. And, as soon as people realize that we're having that Ukraine conversation, somebody's going to come in and they're going to start talking about the other stuff that's happening. And while we talk about this, that, and everything in between, I'm like, ugh, YouTube already flagged me one time. But guess what? They undid it once they realized that we were talking about money in Ethiopia. That's when they were like, oh, my bad. So they gave me the green light on that show today. So that's actually pretty cool. Mr. Satellite said, "Yeppy, Bayside is coming as he dances on the Tappist 1B." I know we're all going to be up in here dealing with some stuff in just a second. I love this because I learn a lot of stuff every day. I learn stuff every single day. I'm actually loving what I do when I do what I do. Remember, guys, that we're live 7 nights a week. We were supposed to start about 40 minutes ago, but I had a lighting issue this time. This time it wasn't the internet. I had a lighting issue. One light went out and the other light fell out. And I was like, hold on, this isn't going to work. So I had to adjust the stage lights in order to get the lights back right. Everything's working now. Didn't have to replace anything, just had to rearrange them. And then I was like, all right, good. Now we can start the show. And then I look at the clock. Oh, man, 30 minutes after the hour. I had to make myself some coffee before I got started because, I got stuff to do right after this. So some podcasters do their podcast and they go to bed. I do my podcast and then I go back to work. So one of the things I got to do this week is check on some of those investments that I've been investing in, because you guys will note that we've been picking up some shares in some of the investment platforms, and I've been encouraging you guys to do that because it is a way to make yourselves make some money throughout the depression that we have going on right now. And since I've been encouraging you guys to do it, I don't just tell you guys to do stuff. I go and do it myself. So I have to go back and double check because we're still on the dip. We're still on the dip. We're not on the incline right now. We're still on the dip. So it is going to go lower as you buy in. So do not feel hurt if you put up 1,000 and now you got 700. Don't feel hurt about that because it's going to bounce back. This is the dip. You're playing the long game here. This is buy and holds. As long as it's down, you can't sell it. Once it goes above what you bought it for, you can do whatever you want. But while it's down, you can't sell it. So also I want you guys to remember we're live 7 nights a week. We don't let the sun rise without going live. So note, we're going to be here tomorrow. We're going to have some social interactions. We're going to have, look at the internet lag. We're going to have to make that call. I have not made that call at all. I'm going to make that call. I got to find time to do it because right after the show, because it usually takes an hour with T-Mobile, and I'm doing back-to-back stuff, so I don't have the ability to call them all the time. So the only thing I can do is just hard reset everything and just hope for the best. But we're going to make that call before we start the show tomorrow. So we're going to make that call on Thursday. But beyond that, we've got some social interaction, social improvement topics. Excuse me. Got the hiccups too. And I'm going to be trying to line those up throughout the week. I've got this really big project that I've been working on, and every time I get a little bit of free time, I try to dive on that project. And it's a good thing and a bad thing, because the good part about it is that I make a lot of progress with the project, but the downside is that in addition to the effort going into the project, I've got other efforts that I have to put in other places, and that's one of the reasons why I run out of time, because I'm squeezing in so many more things into the same period of time. And that is, it's a good way to get more stuff done, but you always feel burned out and you always have this sense that you didn't do enough. But I tell myself the same way I tell you guys on a regular basis, to go back and look over the stuff that you're trying to accomplish and say, okay, well, I did this, I did that, I did the other. These are things that needed to be done. Now that they're out of the way, all I have left to do is this stuff over here. I'm going to set time aside. And I tell you guys all the time, less is more. I'm not going to sit in one spot for 10 hours and do one thing. What I want you guys to do is I want you guys to put aside 30 minutes to an hour every day until you get it done. Every day until you get it done. Like, make it your mission to get out of bed every day and go and do what hasn't gotten done until it gets done. Because there's no reason why in 24 hours you have not touched on an incompleted project. It doesn't matter what it is. If you were building something, if you were packing something, if you were unpacking something, if you was relocating something, if you was reorganizing something, if you had to fulfill a report or something to that effect, if you had to put together some documents for some reason, if you needed to run and go get something notarized or whatever the case may be, if you had some bills that you had to rotate out, get that done. But a little bit at a time. You could just put yourself into one or two different tasks that require you to leave the house and go to a couple places and get those things done. And then the rest of your day, do your normal routine, but specifically set time aside every single day. Special shout out to Cody D. Every single day, you want to put some time aside to work on the big project. Whatever that big project is, you want to put a little bit of time aside every day to work on that big project, and you keep doing that until you succeed on it. Throw us a love out there for, no chaos, just strategic transactions. Really appreciate you guys coming through since we're talking about Ukraine. I'm waiting on Tenalia to show up because when she shows up, she's going to tell us how awesome her country is. So we're waiting on that to happen. Cody says, do Tai Chi and talk to birds. If we're doing Tai Chi and talking to birds, bro, that means we're financially successful, because there ain't no reason why we sitting over here like Cinderella or Snow White talking to birds when we broke as fuck. Because you're probably going to be in the other room arguing with the rats about who you're going to eat first if you broke as fuck. Cody says their Feng Shi is predictable. And if you roast them over an open fire, they taste like chicken. He said, if Sankey just legalized OnlyFans, bro, I'm gonna tell you right now, ain't nobody legalizing OnlyFans, okay? And the sad part is that OnlyFans was originally supposed to be a platform for artists that wanted to like paint stuff, record appropriate stuff, show their skills in a platform where people would pay a subscription to be involved with it, almost like an online yoga studio or like an online art class or stuff to that effect. That's what it used to be about back in the day. Then when these girls realized that they could make millions by doing something strange for a little piece of change online, that's when it turned into what it is right now. Now OnlyFans, it has a derogatory name to it. And just think about this though. Before we start getting into Ukraine. Think about this though. He tell you don't know that. That's messed up. They ruined it. Oh, you didn't know that, right? Like, no, they ruined it. They really ruined it. And the fact is that a few women realized that they could do something nasty on OnlyFans, because it was OnlyFans, because OnlyFans get to see what the product is, right? And the fact is that the product was always supposed to be something authentic. This is supposed to be a platform where entrepreneurs can do a startup online and make money off of it. And it turned into a adult platform. It turned into an adults only platform. And the fact is that they did that instead of, it's safer than them out there doing it on the streets. But I mean, the fact is that the action in and of itself is so deplorable and so devalued and degrading to the fact that it ruined the reputation of the platform. However, the person who owns and operates and runs the platform could care less about what the content creators are doing on the platform, because the content creators are making them millions of dollars. Because just like YouTube takes half of my capital, the content creators over there are giving up a percentage of their capital to the platform. So the platform, if you've got creators making millions, then the platform's making billions. So they don't care what the people are doing on the thing. But when Donald Trump turns back around and he legalizes that type of a scenario, you got to realize you can't sell it once he illegalizes it. And what they're doing right now is directly selling the content. That means that those hubs where you can watch it for free and they just run ads in the background, they might still be up, but they can't sell it. They can't sell access to it because that once they legalize it, and that's going to be crazy. And he said his dancer name is going to be Justice with an S. Justice with an S. It needs to be social justice. He said, I read in the news or wash. I read in the New or Wash, Washington Post, that they wanted to tax the OnlyFans Ukrainians to support the effort. Why I brought it up? The newspaper, the newspaper or the Washington Post. Okay, newspaper or the Washington Post. Wait, they got females over there in Ukraine on OnlyFans making a do. They out there doing it. Hold on, y'all. He said it. I gotta go find out. I gotta go find out. Ukraine OnlyFans creators being taxed. He be saying some stuff. It's not that I don't believe you. I gotta see what's going on to support the cause. Was that CAUSE? We gonna talk about that real quick. Who? Hold on, it glitched. I'm gonna do it again. Hold on, let's start up a new thread. So create Ukraine OnlyFans creators getting taxed to support the cause. All right. It still ain't showing me nothing about it. That's almost like an onion scenario. So let me see. It's you said Washington Post. Washington Post, or what was the other thing? News claims. We're gonna see how true this statement is. Ukraine OnlyFans get taxed. Let's see. Is this true? See, if I ask it for a question, it's going to give me an answer. TRE. We're going to see. We're going to see. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. It ain't. It ain't even looking it up. I'm going to have to say that ain't even legit, bro. I was like, that's the news. You said it was a Washington Post. So let's try this. Let's see. Washington Post claims OnlyFans will be taxed. Let's see if it talks about that. Not talking about that either. I don't know, boys. I don't know. We're on the Ukraine topic. Let's do a broader look. OnlyFans being taxed. It ain't showing that neither. Hold on, y'all. Nah, wait. It could be the internet. Could be the internet. So let's redo. And we're gonna look at OnlyFans being taxed to see what they say about that. Screen went blank, y'all. I went to look that topic up. They said, nope, we're not talking about it. All right, hold on. All right, so we're gonna try one more time. We're gonna find out, is this real or fake news? All right. So OnlyFans creators are indeed required to pay taxes on their earnings. They're not. This is not fake news. Income from OnlyFans is considered self-employed by the IRS. So let's see what else you're saying. So we've opened Pandora's box here. So you said they're being taxed to support the cause. Is this true? See what they tell us about that. Holy snap. Okay, so Ukraine taxes OnlyFans content creators, and a portion of these taxes support the country's wartime budget. So Ukrainian taxes. So now you can feel good about yourself, because if you're out there watching dirty videos from them Ukraine creators, you know that some of your contributions are going towards the struggle. According to this, Ukrainian tax authorities have actively collected taxes from citizens earning income on platforms like OnlyFans, even as the legal status of adult content remains ambiguous. Between 2020 and 2022, OnlyFans creators in Ukraine declare over 7 million in income, with more than 1.6 million paid in income taxes and military fees in 2024 alone. These taxes include both personal income taxes and military levies, which directly contribute to the state budget, including defense spending during ongoing wartime with Russia. So recent legislative initiatives aim to clarify that, potentially decriminalizing the production of adult content in Ukraine now, in part to resolve the contradiction of the state both prosecuting and profiting from such activities. Landmarks have acknowledged the significant tax contributions from OnlyFans creators and have publicly thanked them for their responsible position and contribution to the victory. So this underscoring the importance of this revenue for Ukraine's war efforts. A new draft law proposed a 10% tax on income tax earned via digital platforms, including OnlyFans, composed of 5% personal income taxes and 5% military duty, further formalizing the process of ensuring that such revenue continue to support the national budget. The law is expected to take effect in 2026, with platforms like OnlyFans required to report Ukrainian users' income directly to tax authorities. Wow. He said, anyway, it's illegal there, and they were saying they want to change the law because they could make money. That's a Donald Trump move right there. So they were report their taxes. We need metal music again. OnlyFans is going to become the Ukrainian national anthem. They're out there profiting off of adult content, talking about some our soldiers need this. Look, that's reckless, bro. They don't care where to get the money from. If you put enough money on the table, bro, not too many people say no. You know, if they do the same thing here in the United States, it's probably going to end up being the result. So Cody brought us some interesting information here, y'all. And it's on topic. Ladies and gentlemen, it is past your children's bedtime, like Adult Swim. We talk about stuff that your kids ain't old enough to hear, but they need to know about. Like and subscribe. Either way, though, are you guys ready to uncover the untapped investment potential of Ukraine? That is not the OnlyFans side. He says, send 10,000 copies of the movie Chicken Little to friends. You might as well send Ratatouille over there as well. So let's embark on this journey together to explore how this dynamic, rapidly evolving country could transform a modest investment into an impressive return. Because look, now they could do something dirty out there and they could probably get he said report your OnlyFans, bro. You got to claim that stuff on your taxes now, bro, and you got to do it in all caps, bro. Oh, I'm waiting on that moment when you have an OnlyFans decal with military colors on it, talking about some supporting the troops in my own way. All right, now back to some seriousness. Make sure y'all like and subscribe and use those reaction buttons now. While Ukraine is often viewed through the lens of geopolitical risk and post-conflict recovery, these challenges have given rise to unique opportunities for those willing to look beyond the headlines. Many investors hesitate, concerned about language barriers, regulatory hurdles, and stories of corruption and massive destruction. Yet beneath these surface level worries lies a nation brimming with promise. Ukraine's tech stories are booming. They have these sectors that are involved in tech are fueled by a new generation of talented developers and innovative startups eager to make their mark on the global stage. And the country's natural resources are vast, with fertile farmland and rich minerals deposits. Like, I don't know, man, you guys are going to be dealing with like the most abundant agriculture and mining area that is especially attractive to foreign investors. Meanwhile, the real estate is experiencing a renaissance as cities like Kyiv and Lviv undergo rapid modernization and infrastructure upgrades. He said Joe Biden with space cars. First of all, Joe Biden needs a hover walker to help him get to where he's got to go. You talking about space cars? We need some space cars. Before space cars, y'all seen that Back to the Future hoverboard that they're making for folks? You don't actually hover on it. It's a prop. But if they made a hoverboard, Elon Musk need to be making those hoverboards. Replace cars. You start off with hoverboards, and then you put two hoverboards together, increase the power capacity, and then start making hover cars. If you can float around 200-pound adults all over the place, then I mean you should be able to. But if we had hover cars, Cody, wouldn't everybody need a pilot's license? You think like, okay, so in order for us to get on any type of vehicle that zooms, it doesn't have to be gas powered. It just has to go fast enough for the police to want to chase it down, and they're going to swear to God that you got to have a driver's license for it, which is a lie, and they're going to swear to God that you've got to have a permit or some kind of something or other to use it, which is a lie, because if it's under 50 cc's in the United States, you don't need to have nothing. And if I was you, I'd be riding around with nothing on it and be like, dare you to do something, because it's a toy. Especially if it's under 50 cc's, you don't even need a helmet on that bad boy. I would ride with a helmet because somebody could pluck you off and you could go flying like Burnout and just ragdoll into something. But just a point. Now, with that being said, with the police harassing you right now because they have nothing but that, this is really one of the portions of life that shows you that we do not have as much crime as we did 40 years ago, because there is so much free time that the police have to harass civilians over insignificant bullshit, to the fact that they really need something to do. We really need some unexpected, like, newsworthy chaos to happen in the country where the police is preoccupied so the rest of us have peace. Now, I say that to say this, because they harass us over some of the most insignificant stuff, right? Think about the fact that if we had hover cars, they're not going to, hovering a vehicle is equivalent to flying a vehicle. And if you have a flying vehicle, they're going to require you to have a driver's license for it to be on the road and a pilot's license for it to be in the air, which means that you're now going to have to go to pilot school after you go to driver's school in order for you to know how to drive and land the car. You're going to have a different type of insurance for flying it. It's crazy. It's worth it though, because when traffic is bad, you just go straight up. I ain't got to stay level with everybody else. I go straight up. But that's not necessarily a hover, because a hover car should be like 5 to 8 feet off the ground, something like that. But then ask yourself though, with a hover car, when it rains, your car is sitting on the ground. You understand? There are no situations, unless you have a landing bay, there are no situations where your hover car is not on the ground. Which, anybody with a 2-car garage, I'm like, better sidewalks. Ain't nobody driving on the sidewalk. So ain't nobody driving on the sidewalk. So if you got hover cars, who's riding a hover car on the sidewalk? Would you think that because there's no traffic on the street that you could use more walking stuff because the cars are flying overhead? Yeah. And then when the bastard accidentally nosedives because he's looking for a cell phone so that he could do his Drake dance outside of his car, ghost ride the whip, and the car just crashes into the crowd. Because you done already seen these knuckleheads do that crap. Everybody, including Will Smith, jumping out of a moving vehicle, dancing in the doorway of the car with their like they having a seizure. All I'm trying to say is they got some bull jive out here now. These kids are doing the most. Let me catch one of these little youngins out here with one of these little TikTok dance video. I'm gonna GTA 6 day behind. I'm gonna jump in their car and take that bad boy around the block. Gonna be crazy. They're preoccupied, and I'm no support to. All right. Electric bikes for everyone, and I like one model of car that could use the same parts. You know, Dodge, Camaro, Challenger, same car. And you will come to find that a lot of the time some of these cars have interchangeable parts with them. The only thing that is different is that depending on the engine, the motor mounts, and guess what, you're going to end up with interchangeable parts if everybody goes electric, because most companies are using Tesla batteries. Not all of them, but a lot of them are using Tesla batteries. And those who aren't using Tesla batteries don't have as much charge life as a Tesla battery. So outside of the power source, there isn't much interchangeable parts there. It's like the little plug-in battery thing that you just put there, and then like space. I don't even think they have much of a cooling system in these electric vehicles. It's just like up and go. A single chain link transmission. So whenever I see a Tesla, though, I just look at it and I'm like, I know you'll never hurt me. Well, I don't know, man. When I see a Cybertruck, I'd be looking at those like, damn, that's a lot of money. $135,000 plus taxes. But yeah, it's a crazy notion to find a large quantity of individuals that's willing to pay for something, even if it doesn't own up to the advertisement. Because when they did the debut, I don't know if y'all remember this, but they were talking about how it was supposed to be bullet resistant. It was supposed to not crack the glass when it gets shot and all this other stuff. And they didn't do none of that. And I wasn't all that concerned about that stuff. The part that I was concerned about was that it was like, oh yeah, autopilot. It had like 100% like autopilot, like it drives itself. And I was sitting over here thinking, boss, the closest thing to that was the Audi A5 at the time that parked itself. Now they're talking about a fully autonomous vehicle. I was like, boss, I'm going to do that. And then they say, oh, it's being released right now for it went up 20 grand because it was supposed to be about $70,000 out the door. Then it went up to $100,000. And then after it went up to $100,000, then it turned back around and hit us with the pay us an extra 30,000 to get it right now. What? So it went from 70, it went up 50 grand so that you could get it right now. Right? But it has nothing that it offered. So the boys that got their first Cybertruck shot it up, and the Cybertruck is fucked up. The bullet holes in the glass and everything like that. I don't know how far away you're supposed to be, but when they shot at it, the glass didn't hold up. The door didn't hold up. I don't know what they're doing. And it doesn't have the driverless option on it. So since none of the features that are supposed to be in the Cybertruck are there, I'm sitting over here like, yo, that's messed up. And I was wondering at the beginning when folks was getting pulled over and ticketed for using their VR glasses while they were driving their Cybertruck. And now I can see why. Because if there is no autopilot, you cannot get away with having anything that distracts you from paying attention to the road, because you are driving the vehicle. You're not driving the vehicle if it was an AI system. It's not an AI system. And I think for right now, you actually have to still be in the driver's seat. So I'm just like, this sucks. So it's not worth it. But the Cybercab is supposed to be coming out next year, Q1 of 2026. And if the Cybercab comes out at $30,000, anybody that's on the Cybertruck list might be able to segue over to the Cybercab list and try to get themselves on that the electric car there. And that would be fantastic to have that particular type of scenario, to be able to have a car that drives itself with your VR glasses and stuff on. But it is ridiculous TF Fireball, special shout out to TF Fireball. He said, "Hey, I just wanted to ask, what should I do? I have invested $1 into 500 different stocks. Hold them." Special shout out to been a while since he came in. He bought a 500 stocks, $1 per stock. That's got to be penny stocks because most stocks don't cost $1. Even penny stocks are like $5. But if you bought you 500 of them for $1, hold on to them until the value of them goes up, and then sell them so you can get your money off of it. Cody said, transform my 08 GMC Acadia into a fake Tesla truck with thin polywood driven around town. Bro, hey, your truck is better built than the Cybertruck. Your truck is better built than the Cybertruck. All right, y'all. Now imagine participating in a transparent government land auction over in Ukraine where millions of acres, this is hectare-acres of prime agricultural land, are available even to foreign investors. Picture yourself backing a Ukrainian tech startup, joining the ranks of early investors who have already seen their stakes multiply as these companies expand internationally. Or consider the appeal of real estate, where new developments and rising demand are creating fertile ground for growth. Ukraine is known as the breadbasket of Europe, and its agricultural sector is drawing increased international attention. As of March of 2025, the average price for agricultural land was about $1,370 per hectare acre, which is a lot of acres. And that is the current rate right now, with regional prices as much as $630 per hectare acre, or $2,500 per hectare acre. So that's a pretty decent range in premium areas like Kyiv. Now, I wonder, real quick, guys, so that we can get an understanding. A hectare acre to an acre. We want to get an understanding. A hectare acre, which is what they're dealing with over there, is hectare acres to acres is multiplying the number of hectare acres by 2.4, conversely to 1 acre. So 1 acre of land is about 0.4 hectare acres. Now, I just want to, that's expensive as bejesus, because when we're doing like quarter acre pieces of land for $250,000, and they're talking about selling you a hectare acre, which is about 40% of an acre of land, which means that is there a 1-to-1 ratio there where you're doing like 0.4 acres? That would I would say what, 40 hectare acres. What about, let's do this real quick. 40 hectare acres. 40 hectare acres to I'm gonna give y'all some math here real quick. We're gonna do we're gonna work this out real quick with his real estate. So 40 hectare acres is about 98 acres of land. Wow. Okay. So 4 hectare acres would be, that'd be like 2 acres of land. Or no, well, 2 hectare acres is 1 acre of land. So you would look at like 2 acres of land is like 5 hectares, roughly. So that would be a way to look at it. So it's like 5 hectares, roughly, for 2 acres of land. So if they're charging you $630 for 1 hectare, okay, you're looking at, that is $630 for 40% of an acre of land, which would be approximately $1,260 per acre, which was what we were looking at before, almost $1,300 per acre of land. That's crazy. That's crazy, but it's still pretty decent, because I mean, in comparison to like $250,000 for a house on a 0.4 or 0.3 acre land, because if you're getting a house on a 1/4 acre piece of land, it's 0.25 acres of land with a house on it, and it's like a 1,500 or 2,000 square foot house on it, we're paying $200,000 for it. So in the US, we're paying, I think, $10,000 per acre of land. And if we're paying $10,000 per acre of land in the United States, and 2 acres of land is 5 hectares, we will be paying $20,000 for 5 hectares in the US. And they would be paying as high as $2,500 for 5 hectares, which is crazy. He said it's all over farming areas. Probably a hectare is bigger than an acre. No, well, no. Yeah, so I had to look that up. No, 1 acre is 2.5 or 2.4 something or other hectares, which actually, and I can get it. I can run this back to you real quick, because I want to make sure that we're looking at this. 2.47 from the conversion rate. So check this out real quick. I want you to see this. Look, you're confused and I'm confused too. That's why I said, hold on, I gotta do the math on this real quick. No, look at that right there. So you see that? So an acre of land is equal to 2.4 hectares. So that means that 1 hectare is equal to 0.4 acres of land. So that's the confusion there. So I want you guys to pay attention to this part right here. I'm throwing this in the comment section. Y'all can't tell me that we didn't look into that. We learning about land masses, y'all. We learning about land masses now. So that is 40%, which is equivalent to a piece of land in America. So acres are so we're looking at the confusion here, and I think this is where we are. So 1 acre. So you are correct. You are correct. So yes. So we had some confusion there. You are correct. So 1 acre is 40% of a hectare. So that means if you're buying a hectare for $630, you're buying like 2.4 acres of land, based on this mathematical equation, which also means that So yeah, so right here it's saying conversely, 1 acre is about 0.4 hectares. So you are correct. Hectares are larger than acres, which means that if you're buying 1 acre of land, you are buying 0.4 hectares. So if they're selling 1 hectare of land, they're selling you 2.4 acres of land for $640, which is actually way better value than what we were looking at a moment ago. So that's way more. The $630 for 2.5 acres of land. That's all I need to buy. We pay $10,000 an acre in the US. You go over there to Ukraine, you get 2.5 for $630. Cowboy down. That's what he said. Cowboy down. Look, $10,000 will go a long way in the Ukraine. Man, for $630, I'll put half down and half to the military. Show some support. So what's an acre then? LOL. Or a hectare. So okay, so this is what we're looking at. So one acre is 0.4 hectares. Hectares are greater than acres. They're hecka large in comparison to the acres. Now, that means that 1 acre is 40% of a hectare. 1 hectare is 2.4 acres of land. So if you look at it, if you look at the difference between the two, it's crazy. So I get confused at it either way, but I'm like, yo, that's deep. And it would make more sense to say that the acreage is cheaper out there than what it is over here. Because they're saying before the war, they were charging about $600 an acre, which was about, now it's about $10,000 per acre, which is what we're doing in America. And that is crazy. The government is actively encouraging foreign investors, offering up to 50% capex reimbursements for agricultural projects that meet certain criteria. So if you go over there and you buy you some farmland, you go buy you 10 acres of land, because just like I told you, I said a moment ago, I said, let's do the math. And I said, well, 40 hectares is 98.84 acres. So you 40 hectares of land, 40 hectares of land at $1,370 per acre is almost 100 acres of land. That's a lot. That's a lot of land for $1,000 a hectare or $1,500 a hectare. It's crazy. Okay, so if you buy 1 hectare, you're buying about 2.4 acres of land. Yes. That's about how you sum that up. Yes, that's exactly where we are. So $1,370 for 2.5 acres of land, or 2.4 acres of land. Yes. Get the a hectare out of here. Look, you said cowboy up. We got to learn this terminology if we're going to other countries and make money for us. Now, Ukraine is known as the bread and butter. We already went over that. Now we already talked about that. Let's go back down to the other one. Ukrainian investment landscapes isn't limited to the traditional sectors. That's something that we need to be talking about, because you have public and private partnerships, which is those PPPs that they got going on there, public to private partnerships, and reconstruction funds. Reconstruction is rebuilding everything that got destroyed, which is often backed by major international players. Offer accessible entry points for those seeking diversified, professionally managed opportunities. When you're looking at diversified, professionally managed, this is a situation where you're going to put your money up towards something, but you don't have to run it. And I encourage anything that allows you to put your money towards its growth without your effort having to go into its growth. When you have to invest your time and your effort into something, your money can only go as far as your effort is willing to take you. So a lot of these affiliate marketing opportunities that offers you a percentage of commission based on how hard you push their product. You will get commission off of their product based on how hard you push their product. But if you don't push their product hard enough, you're not going to get shit. So your effort is valueless to you because you're not making money off of the product. Now, speaking of pushing somebody's product, I could tell you that the Fit Chef is supposed to be getting the setup real quick. I was telling you guys about that. We were waiting on Vino Cato to send us the bottle, and Vino Cato never sent us the bottle. So I got to talk to Dina. I think her name is Michelio. And once we get in contact with her, we're going to be trying to figure out what are they doing with the bottle because they were supposed to be sending it. I know a lot of y'all was asking about it. I put the links into the comment section, and I'm like, oh yeah, this should only take a couple of weeks for them to send it, and it ain't here. So now I'm like, well, all right, Fit Chef, let's go ahead and get started. We got a pilot. I got to talk to you guys. We're going to be getting the this and that apron, the this and that memorabilia. You're going to be seeing that on the show coming soon, and I'm trying to figure out what we're going to be doing, because the recipes and all the stuff that we were talking about before, we're going to be trying to make that make sense for us. So when you're pushing somebody else's product for a profit, your profit comes from the sales that you make, and that effort is sometimes harder than you think it is for you to make a buck. And that's why a lot of people who start up with those squeeze page WordPress platforms where they're doing articles and blogs and stuff like that, and then they're trying to generate revenue through links in their articles, where less than 1% of individuals click the link, and less than 1% of the individuals that click the link get to the cart, and less than 1% of the people that get to the cart actually make the purchase. So you're looking at 1% of 1% of 1% of capital off of a product that's not really all that hot. You would have to have over 100,000 people looking at the product in order for 10 people to buy. And that means that you have to drive a lot of traffic to that product in order for that product to sell. And it's hard to do when you're starting out, because you know how to pitch the product, you know how to put it up there, but you can't guarantee that anybody's going to want to go directly to your page, and then from your page to their page, or from their page to the purchase option, to the get their wallet, to the, you see what I'm saying? So all of these things lead to the degradation of effort when it comes down to trying to turn a profit off of somebody else's idea. But if you're giving them the money and they're going to do all the work, and then they're going to give you a guaranteed amount based off of their effort, the only person that's taking a loss there is them, because as long as they have your money, the contract is supposed to be designed where you're guaranteed to receive a certain quantity of capital. Now, there are contracts that you do sign where they can change the payout distribution or the return rate with advance notice. And in some situations, just like Tesla, they will withhold that advance. They will give you advance notice and withhold payout until they start seeing profits. But the fact is that they're still entitled to give you whatever they were supposed to give you up until the point that they changed out the exchange rate. So your goal is to put your money up in places where people are going to do the work for you, and then the money makes money for you. So if you go out to Ukraine and you get involved with some of this stuff, you could put your money down, let them do all the work, and fly around and get paid. And that's what I encourage. Cody said, you just put it in the magical 24/7 calculator equation. That is one math equation where where coveralls to the top business meetings grow grapes, bread to get ahead, grape bread and pants to get ahead. He tripping. The magic of experience, magic, sell, and feeling people buy Coca-Cola and Disney are perfect examples. Well, the way people buy milk, because milk does a body good, it doesn't do a body good because our body's respiratory system turns lactose into it shuts down the respiratory system. Instead of turning the isomers into ATP, producing oxygen in the body, it actually shuts down the respiratory system when you're consuming too much lactose, which is why a lot of people claim to be lactose intolerant. And the older you get, the less you are good with milk products, dairy products, which is why you start having gas and stomach issues off of eating too much ice cream or having too much milk. A lot of us find ourselves in our older ages not being attracted to cereal and milk anymore. We say that's a kid's thing, but it's not a kid's thing. Our mentality has shifted because our body doesn't process it as well, so we steer away from it naturally. Some of us go from whole milk to light milk, or from actual milk in our coffee to creamer to powder creamer because we can't deal with the lactose. So those pitches, like you said, the magic in the cell, and things like buy Coca-Cola or Disney topless with alcohol. All of these things are ways that if you push it hard enough, people will buy it. It's a coffee cart with a carton with a curtain. I'm a money monster. Bro, like all of these ideas are fantastic to have. And if we have the right ideas, we can turn our we can turn our ideas into profits, but we have to put a lot of effort into that, or we have to pay somebody else to do that for us. Now, if you're investing in somebody else who's already got an idea, then all we have to do is hand them a little bit of cash, and then they hand us a lot of profit. And typically you got to really just analyze which ones you're going to put your money into to determine that they have the capabilities to pay you back, because that's one of the biggest things that you got to focus on. Now, remember, the mining sector is also heating up. So with Ukraine's reserves of lithium, titanium, and rare earth elements drawing attention from global industries hungry for these critical resources, even if you prefer a more hands-off approach, you can invest in Ukrainian government or corporate bonds through select international brokerages as the country aligns more closely with EU standards. Despite wartime challenges, Ukraine tech sector is booming. In 2023, Ukrainian startups raised over $250 million, with more than half focusing on high demand business-to-business solutions and sectors like IT, ag tech, med tech, clean energy, and military tech, which are especially hot right now. And platforms like VIR.group connect investors with vetted opportunities and supported services. With a highly skilled IT workforce and global ambitions, Ukrainian startups offer a challenge and chance for early stage investors to significantly receive upsides. Ukraine's real estate market, as we was just talking about, is rebounding, especially in safer western regions. So not on the east side, on the west side. Throw that up there. In March of 2025, the average price for new apartments in Kyiv reached $1,200 per square meter, not square foot. That's a lot of space, which is 4% increase, while Lviv topped a charts at $1,333 per square meter, and other cities like Ivano, Frankovic, and Uzord offered entry points at $850 to $1,150 per square meter, where some regions have seen prices grow as high as 97% over the past 4 years. So the primary market is forecast to raise another 20% over the rest of the 2025 year if security situations improve, making it now a strategic time to enter into real estate scenarios if you guys are going to be trying to do like Airbnbs and all of this other stuff. Cody's saying a healthier coffee creamer that's actually good for you. Now, if you're going to make a healthier coffee creamer that's going to be good for humans, you want to get one that's made out of breast milk from women. Now, I understand that that's going to be a lot more taxing to do because that requires you to have a few hundred women in the same place at the same time, and you're going to have to milk them like cows in order for you to do this. But the fact is that would provide a lot more nutrients to the individuals that are consuming the coffee milk, and it is going to give you a little bit sweeter of a taste, almost like a White Russian. Note. That is not an Onion report. As breast milk is good for the development of children, breast milk is good for the development of men. So, fellas, milk your wives. He can't even believe it all. It's surreal, to be honest. Well, yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot of stuff that's going on right now. Y'all can make a lot of money even during war times. Now, of course, every market has its challenges, and Ukraine is no exception. But with the right local partners, expert guidance, and a willingness to embrace innovation, the reward can be substantial. Innovators have already achieved remarkable results in everything from farmland to fintech, and their stories are profound. That the Ukraine the Ukrainian market is not just for the bold, it's for the smart. Now, mining natural resources has strategic commodities where Ukrainians rich, precious, and critical metals offer exposure to the global commodity market. And in April of 2025, you got a lot of these things that you guys can invest in, and it's going to be a plus and a minus because it's a lot. Like, for example, over there in Ukraine, gold is valued at $3,343 per troy ounce. Silver is $32. Where in America, that's about $1,000 less for gold and about $10 less for silver. So you obviously could go and buy real gold in America and then go to Ukraine and sell it and make a stack of cash. Now, the problem that you have with that is per ounce is that the cost of shipping it with the insurance on it in case they try to rob you might not give you as much problem or as much profit as problems. So you got to be careful with those items. However, titanium is 8,000 to 12,000 per metric ton. Lithium is 12,000 to 15,000 per metric ton. Nickel is 18,000 to 20,000 per metric ton. Cobalt is 30,000 to 32,000 per metric ton. Neodymium is $75,233 per metric ton. And then you have the serum oxide, which is $1,300 per metric ton that you guys can look into. There is Yitra, what I think we talked about this once before in Cambodia, and this one is $6,000 per metric ton in Ukraine, and terbium metal, which is $1,000 per kilogram in Ukraine. And while Ukraine is a top European supplier of titanium and has some of the continent's largest lithium reserves, mining giants like Metinvest, Ferrexpo, and Arcelor Mittal, I can't pronounce these, so I'm going to give them to you. Make sure that y'all got them. Have invested hundreds of millions of dollars in products and monetization, signaling confidence in the sector's long-term prospects, which means that if you invest in some of these countries, you would be able to see some returns off of your investment instead of trying to chase down the source of the accessibility of the gold, which would definitely give you a lot harder way to get your foot in the door, but you would still see the returns like the Rockefellers. But see, the difference between what we do and what the Rockefellers do is that the Rockefellers, somebody set this situation up, taught everybody else how to do it, and everybody else just followed the leads. The rest of us are on autopilot, waiting on somebody else to do everything for us. And as long as they're waiting on somebody else to do everything for us, we're never going to get anything or get anywhere. And we're living from check to check, enjoying the pleasures of life minimalistically within the realm of our financial budget. And we just stay broke forever, not necessarily having a real retirement. But I mean, it is what it is until we start doing things differently. He said the ghost of Henry Ford is driving around looking. And hey, Ukraine, look at me. I got a bunch of gold to sell you. And they're going to buy it and sell it back. Now, y'all are going to love this. You got high yield government bonds like macro stability. And Ukraine's domestic government bonds are offering attractive yields, tolerant investors in the early 2025 years, where hryvnia denominated bonds. I'm going to put this up there for y'all as well, because I'm not saying this right, so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Y'all can go and find these hryvnia or Ryevin. I know the H might be silent. denominated bonds are yielding up to 16.95% annuum, which is about yearly, while US dollar denominated bonds offer up to 4.6%, which means that if you bring your US dollars to Ukraine and invest in their government bonds, you're going to get a larger percentage back for the same quantity of value or the same quantity of investment, your principal. So if you bought 10,000 annuum instead of 10,000 US dollars, you'd be getting 16.95% back from Ukraine instead of getting 4.6 back from the United States. And the government raised over 56 billion UAH, which is about 1.4 billion US dollars in the first 2 months of 2025 alone, underscoring strong demand and the state's commitment to microfinancial stability, which means that if you invest in the Ukraine economy right now, you'll make a shit ton of money, which is a little bit more stable than the downturn that the United States is going through right at this moment, where we understand that a lot of our real estate investment opportunities and a lot of our ETFs are still working on that downturn. Another month and a half, I would say, before we start seeing it level off and start going back up. So you gotta buy and hold for as long as you can, and then watch that upturn. Now you have some investment trends and capital flows because Ukraine's industries, their capital investment in industrial area has grown by 23.1% year over year. And the agricultural sector has grown by $1 to $2 billion in US dollars annually, with a total value of fixed assets estimated to be about 29 billion US dollars. And you have major private sectors like Epicenter, and they plan to invest up to 1.9 billion US dollars between 2023 and 2025. And then there's also a practical steps sector where you're going to be watching a lot of people buy land via government auctions, where you're going to benefit from state incentives and tap into the global food market. And then you're going to invest directly in startups or through platforms that are focused on business to business, ag tech, and clean energy scenarios, where real estate will be targeting residential or commercial properties in growth cities and leveraging price appreciation. And then you're going to partner with established firms or invest in listed companies for exposure to strategic metals instead of doing your own digging out there. And if you're accessing high yield government debt through international brokers, you'll be able to see a laundry list of profits from that particular scenario. Now, you also have on the back end, I just noticed this, that uranium is also being sold there, $90 to $100 per pound. Graphite is also being sold $700 to $1,200 per metric ton, where and that is going to give you the full totality of how you're going to put your money up and make you some money on the back end. He says, so just fly everyone from West Virginia there. Bro, West Virginia is actually pretty good. And yeah, I like it out here in West Virginia. We could definitely swing some folks. Get a this and that private jet like that pastor, fly everybody, fly the congregation to Ukraine and be like, hey, let's start up something over here. We'll be like that skit where you see a bunch of people start walking into a Target with their own staff, and everybody starts spreading out, start cleaning up and shit. He said, call it New Trumptopia, New West Virginia. Call it Trumptopia. Oh boy. Woo. Woo. Man, will he pay for that name change? Because his last name used to be Drumph, Drumph, and now it's Trump. So that and then the way he's trumping folks like spades, it's catchy. It's catchy. His Trump coin and Dogecoin are pretty decent right now in the crypto market, but they're not like really flipping because of the meme coin, since people are dumping a bunch of money into meme coin, and then after the stocks rise, people pull the investor pulls out of the meme coin in massive spades, which causes the value of the stock to drop, and that's going to be one of the issues. So it's a to-do. It's a to-do to go and look at those. But what we always do, we always talk about a country. We didn't talk about the living in Ukraine yet, as of yet, because I know we're probably going to do a follow-up on that, places to live, culture, lifestyle, and everything like that as Ukraine continues to build. But not a lot of people are going to be eager to fly out there and post up in Ukraine with the current rumors around social media about Ukraine's conflicts with neighboring countries. So we left that and decided that I told you guys I was going to touch base on the cheapest types of trust that you can create. And that way you can start up your own trust, where with all of these investments that you're doing all over the world, you would be able to put all your assets in places where you could benefit from controlling your estate. Now, one of the things that we have said before on a number of occasions is that you're going to have at least one trust that you start up, that you're going to be moving everything around and setting stuff up the way you want to set it up. Then you're going to have another trust that you're going to set up where you're going to put a lot of your cash assets in, and then that trust is going to pay into your principal trust. Then you're going to have another trust that's probably going to hold all your vehicles and stuff like that, and yet another trust that's going to hold your properties. If you have a living trust, that's a revocable trust that ends up turning into an irrevocable trust after you pass over. The way you set up that living trust, you could be the trustee and the beneficiary of that living trust until you are satisfied with how everything is set up, like me and Rev and Bayside were talking about before. And I think Bayside and Rev have both started trying to do this. So I thought that it would be a good idea to talk to you guys about the cheapest types of trusts that we can create. And one of the cheapest types of trust that you can create is going to be a revocable living trust and statutory trust, because if it's available in your state, the statutory trust, if available, the irrevocable living trust is always going to be available. It can be established for anywhere between $100 and $500 using do-it-yourself methods. So first thing you want to pay attention to is the revocable living trust is the most affordable one. It is going to cost between $100 and $500 using online services or do-it-yourself kits. The pros to this is that it avoids probate and allows modifications after its creation to maintain your privacy. So nobody knows what you own. Well, nobody knows what you control, because you don't own it. The trust owns it. One of the principal downsides, though, is that depending on where you're setting up these trusts, is that if you do it in the United States, some of the laws in the United States can break open a trust depending on how that trust is created. So while it does give you a little bit of privacy starting out, if you're in the United States creating a revocable trust that you control, that you're a beneficiary of, there isn't as many legal diversions that allows people to not be able to take legal action against you to acquire those. So none of these assets protections from creditors. So this is going to be one of the downsides to doing it. So if they want their money for your stuff that they have entitlements to, you're going to be looking at having to get a more secured trust situation. But just to get things started, to sell everything to a trust, relocate the assets to something. Once it's an irrevocable trust, it's like setting up an LLC or a C corporation, a sole proprietor, where you are your own boss kind of thing. You are the business. That doesn't have the same type of privileges as a standalone entity that files its own taxes. A standalone entity is an irrevocable trust that you are a separate entity from the irrevocable entity, and that irrevocable trust protects you further from creditors than a revocable trust. But a revocable trust can be converted to an irrevocable trust at any time. The only difference is that an irrevocable trust cannot be modified. It is a non-revocable trust is a non-changeable trust. So you want to make sure that you set everything up the way you want it set up. Don't get sued in the process. And then once you change it over to an irrevocable trust, you have to remember retroactive actions play into the rest of the future ownerships of the thing. So you can't say, oh, I know I'm about to get sued, I'm going to quickly turn this over to an irrevocable trust right before the lawsuit, where the lawsuit is involved in actions that occurred before the trust was an irrevocable trust. That retroactive scenario, they might be able to break open your trust and seize your assets for credits towards any legal action. So you got to talk to your lawyers about that kind of stuff. But how do you create one of those do-it-yourself revocable living trusts? Well, if you use an online platform, we've got a lot of them we're going to talk about right now, but LegalZoom, Nolo, and Rocket Lawyer are some of the ones that we are going to be touching base with today. But one of the first ones, is the cheapest one, is the $299 trust. And this one costs about $299 for individual plans, $399 for couples. So that gives you a group rate where it's like buy one, get one half off kind of thing. And this is going to include the state-specific revocable living trust, a last will and testament, power of attorney, and advanced healthcare directions, which allows you, in case you didn't know, it'll allow you to be able to set up a lot of things that you can then micromanage yourself. And that's probably going to be one of the most stressful parts about a revocable trust, is that you have to turn the wheels yourself. It's the difference between having a gas power car and having a car with pedals on it, where you've got to pedal this car yourself. I prefer things to be more automated, but this is one way to get things started. This is one way to get your hands on the paperwork to see what kind of stuff that you want to have done, and then see the complexity of the wording as your estate gets more complicated. The processes are going to be pretty simple and quick in these do-it-yourself platforms, where you can complete a 5-minute online questionnaire, receive documents by email within minutes, and finalize them with notarizations. If you're going to notarize these documents, sometimes these documents cost money to notarize, depending on where you go. But if you have a bank or credit union, which is why I encourage you guys to do both, that you can essentially establish banks or credit unions that have free notary services for the customers of the bank. So since you deposited money into the bank account, that you got whatever, $20, $30, $75 in a bank account with that particular bank, whenever you need something notarized, instead of paying $10 or $15 for a notary, or going down to Amscot and paying them $15, $20 for a notary, you can go to, or a personal private notary that might charge you like $25 or $50 for the notary. You can just go down to your local bank and say, hey, notarize these papers as you deposit or withdraw money from the bank. Now, typically, this is easier to do if your bank account is in a positive standing, but it really depends upon how that's going to work, to make sure that everything runs smooth as far as getting notaries down. Now, what you want to remember is that this particular platform has a flat rate price with quick turnarounds that includes full estate planning essentials. Now, Nolo is a little bit cheaper, but you're going to have to look at Nolo being a little bit different as well. Nolo typically starts at $99 for basic legal documents, and this is basic legal documents. When you start talking about the complex ones, you're going to be looking at higher costs. And this one's going to include customizable revocable living trusts and other estate planning documents. Cody says, create a giant account and trust just to buy dancing lessons to lose weight. Well, actually, if you created a C corporation and an LLC. If the LLC is owned by the C corporation and you own the C corporation, and the LLC invests in a dance studio that has a weight loss program in there, then you could set all that stuff up. And that's actually a legitimate business move, because really, if the LLC is owned by the C corporation and the C corporation is owned by you, then when the LLC does business with an entity, if the entity has a problem, they're going after the LLC, not the C corporation and not you. So as a result, you end up in a situation where it's almost like BlackRock might be a primary shareholder of a specific company, and that company might be a primary shareholder of another company. Who owns BlackRock? And then you think about, oh, well, if you have another investor that might be a primary shareholder investor of BlackRock, but that company is owned by another person, where you never know who actually is putting their money into anything. That's one of the way things go when you're doing a pyramid setup. You got to have enough money to pay for all of this stuff. You can't just be making minimum wage at a McDonald's and say, oh yeah, I'm going to set up like 13 shell corporations and go out there and buy the neighboring dance studio. It doesn't work out that way. But what you can do is, if you're making that kind of capital, you can set up a second business, have that business run another business. You can have an LLC own a C corporation if you want to do it backwards like that. And I say that it's backwards because C corporations have more tax flexibility than LLCs. LLCs have less legal framework because LLCs have limited liability, so you can really only sue them for the quantity of assets that the LLC controls. And if the LLC is sending all of its money to its principal holder, which is a C corporation, LLC ain't got nothing to take. So you can go after them specifically for a reimbursement of whatever losses that you've experienced, and that's pretty much all you're going to get. A reasonable compensation related to the losses that you experience. And that's another scenario that you go and do. Like, for example, if you buy a vehicle and you register it to your LLC, your LLC's name is going to come up on a vehicle registration. Your LLC's the post office box. We talked about this before, how you can use the physical street address of the post office box and then use the post office box as the unit number. So if your post office is at like 8425 Ashley Drive and your post office box number is 1234, it would be 8425 Ashley Drive Suite 1234. And then if it's like Tampa, Florida 33604, you could utilize something like that. And then whenever they want to mail you something, they mail it to that physical address of your LLC, and you don't have to put your physical address on a registration of your vehicle. You don't have to put your name on a vehicle. So they don't know who drives the car. They just know that the car belongs to a company, which also changes how the police talk to you when they pull your car over, because it does not belong to you. You are just using it. So if all you got to do is just tell them, yeah, the boss knows that you got the car. That's it. That's it. And don't pretend like you the boss. You pretend like you work for the boss. Well, I don't want the boss to be pissed off at what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? And they'll oh, yo, you better start, because if they can scold you a little bit on the side of the road and you're very apologetic of it, like, oh, you're going to receive negative consequences in your personal life, that is far worse than getting a traffic ticket and going to court and paying fines and getting points on your license. They're probably going to be like, well, you better be. And here goes another thing I'm going to tell you guys real quick while we're talking about side notes. If you're registering your vehicle to an LLC and you're registering your vehicle to a post office box, and you want to avoid people filing complaints with law enforcement about your driving style, if you create a regular phone number, you can use any kind of Text Now app. You can use any type of app that allows you to generate a phone number for free and redirect calls. Customer service line, put it on the back of your vehicle. How's my driving? Put a number up under it. And anybody who's pissed off at what you just did on the road, instead of them calling the police and complaining about your driving status, they will call the number on the back of the car and bitch to your voicemail, making an appropriate company name, appropriate company voicemail that leads them to believe that they're literally going to get you in trouble for whatever. And you put the phone number on the back of the car. You could even put a unit number on the back of the car so that they can make a sin. Oh, this is a fleet. Oh, this is car 1304 when you only got one car. But the fact is that if you did that, people who are following your vehicle and they want to be a dick, they'll call that number, vent their stress on that voicemail. By the time it's over, that's it. That's it. They don't have to talk to somebody. You could just say, oh, well, thank you for calling such and such incorporated. If you have any concern, please state your name and a callback number and potentially email and a detailed message, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And they will tell you all of whatever they want to tell you until the message stops. And then after that, they will hang up the phone and they will feel vindicated in that moment, and you will not have to deal with no more bullshit. And so when you register your vehicle to a company and you're putting a company phone number on the back of the vehicle that doesn't really have to go to anywhere of relevance, and you leave a company voicemail that they can vent their anger at, you could be an asshole on the road and they're not going to do your shit. He said, no, it was a joke. Like, go to the bank, ask for a loan for like a pottery class. You want you joking. You got some folks that really got to do that though. They really got to go to the bank and like borrow $5,000 or $10,000 because a lot of the times the pottery class make you buy your own equipment. So they got some people that's like, yeah. Drive one of those mail delivery vans, but don't even deliver anything. You can buy some of the decommissioned vehicles. You can buy some. You can also get you a box truck. You can if you've got a pickup truck. Everybody believes that a pickup truck is a work truck. You can get a pickup truck and put that information on the back of your pickup truck. You can get anything like that. If it's a SUV where you have enough space on the back of the SUV, it could be a minivan, it could be a Ford Explorer, it could be a Navigator, or Escalade, anything that's got enough space on the back of it for you to put that information on the back of the thing and put a service number on the back of the thing. Like I said, if it's registered to a company, if it looks like a work vehicle or it looks like a larger vehicle that a company would use, Navigators, Explorers, Expeditions, stuff like that. And it's like, how's my driving? Blah, 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 blah. Da, da, da. If you got decals that you could slap on that bad boy, you could go the extra mile for it, make it look like a real work vehicle and tell them, hey, call this number if you got a problem. And I guarantee you, they're not going to give you shit. He laughed at your number on the back of the car. It's not your number, it's a number on the back of the car, just a number for them to call, so that they're not calling the police reporting you to state troopers, where as you're driving down the interstate, your license plate shows up on the Amber Alert. You want to avoid that. These are the things that we're trying to tell you guys about. Is they have like people calling you all the time. Well, only if you're a fucked up driver. If you're that person that cuts people off on a regular basis and kicking off shit, yeah, they're probably gonna call you all the time. But if it's going to a phone number that may necessarily be attached to a phone that you never take anywhere, ringer's always off. They can call it and leave messages all day long. You just got to go in there and just delete the messages every now and again to make sure that there's enough space for more people to call, and you're good to go. You're good to go. Cody says, Billy Bob's garden service. Exactly. With call this number for complaints. No. Call this number for customer service. Or just simply say customer service number on the bottom of the thing. And that and I guarantee you, when they call that number, you'll hear it. They'll read off your license plate. They'll read off the make and model of the vehicle you're driving. They'll give you the location of where you at. They'll read off the unit number of the vehicle. If you put that on there, they're gonna give the whole scenario. And after they get finished with that call, that's when they'll stop following you and they'll pull off. And at the end of the day, that's a wrap. That's a wrap. They will put you in a position where, it's I don't find it necessary, but it's one of those things that if you really wanted to bypass having issues, that's one way to do it. That's one way to. There's tips and tricks on getting away with Karens, being Karens. Now, when we were talking about those trusts, we were just talking about Nolo. If you use Nolo is an intuitive online interface that's going to customize documents and download stuff instantly, where they're going to lower the cost. It's going to be lower than LegalZoom and extensive legal form library, competitive pricing in comparison to those, but it's going to have its limitations. He said, riding dirty for like 7 months now, bro. They gotta catch you. They gotta catch you. I ain't gonna cap. There was one time that I think I was 4 years. I was work truck. I was 4 years, and they couldn't tell because I had a truck and trailer on the back of that bad boy. They couldn't see the plates. So it is what it is. And then after a while, I got everything, because I started spending too much time on the road. I got everything straightened out. And by the time I got everything straightened out, that's the first time them lights hit. And they're like, oh, I've seen this vehicle too many times, and those aren't the plates that was on there last time I seen this vehicle. I ain't going to tell them what a place that was on there before didn't belong here, but the places on there now I do. I just looked at it like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's always looked like this. What you mean? Like when they ask you, is this your current address? If you're going to answer that stupid ass question, you always answer that question, yes. I'm not going to tell them, no, this isn't my current address. My current address is something different, because you know what happens when you answer that question like that? They can give you a ticket because you didn't change your address within the last 80 to 90 days, depending on what state you're in. So I'm like, nah, everything is current. Everything is current. Everything is current. But those of us that are wise and smart these days immediately interact with them and tell them some of the smartest responses, which are, I'm not answering any questions without a lawyer. I make declarative statements. I can only dispel reasonable suspicion. So if you don't articulate reasonable suspicion, I have nothing to dispel. And everything beyond that is I don't answer questions. If you're not going to just sit there and remain silent, so when they start asking you questions like, is this your current address? That's a question that requires my lawyer to be present. So since I invoke my right to an attorney at the beginning of this conversation, in order for you to continue asking me questions, there must be a lawyer present. And with no lawyer present, you are violating the law, which interferes with your ability to be protected by immunity. So any answer that I give you would be inadmissible for whatever investigation you're claiming to be doing at this point. So you got to be careful with what you say after I said I want my lawyer present for any questioning that you have. Because if they're doing an investigation, you're entitled to a lawyer, and they're only supposed to engage you on a traffic stop if they're doing an investigation. So the investigation starts with, I would like to only answer questions when my lawyer is here. Straight out. Now, he says, then talk to them like you're trying to figure out who was driving and it was you. Yeah, you could do that. You could do that. Oh, yeah, we're going to fire that asshole. We've been getting a lot of complaints about him. He's a fucktard. You could do that. Jimmy, go call that boy in unit 218. Go tell him, bring that damn truck back over here. We can get rid of his ass right now. Oh, I'm so sorry. That's all that person needs to hear. And they're going to feel like they accomplished something. Be you driving the whole fucking time. And if they not wise with the tire screeching in the background. Cody said, cat's out of the bag. I really live at 14 Chipmunk 14 Chipmunk Chase. All right, check us out. You have Trust and Wills. This is another company. It costs $199 for an individual. It's trust-based estate planning, and also $299 for couples, which is similar to the $299 plan. This one includes state-specific living trust, step-by-step guidance, digital storage, and free shipping of documents and regular updates. Now, this one has an online questionnaire that allows for documents to be reviewed by legal experts and shipped to you with an annual $19 membership for updates after 30 days, which allows you guys to be able to keep your stuff in the right situation. This one is more user friendly. Its modern interface has legal experts that reviews your documents to make sure everything is legit, and it gives you secured legal storage, secure digital storage. He said, I thought of the idea of showing up as Cody as an employee of the company, but then answering the phone as a different person, Mr. Gold. Well, you can do that. If you're Cody Gold, right? And you're talking to the Johnny Law as, hi, I'm Cody, employee of the Gold Enterprise, right? And then, I don't own squat. Mr. Gold owns this, and Mr. Gold is going to be mad at me if I'm late. And I got to get there on time, and da-da-da-da-da. And my job is on the line, and I'm already on academic probation and all this other stuff. And Johnny Law let you go. But when you answer the phone with the customer complaint, Mr. Gold, oh, Cody, oh, fuck Cody. I'm going to take care of Cody. I got something for Cody. And be the same person. You really could pull that off. It's a situational scenario. Then answer the phone to customers. Exactly. And the customer complaints are going to offset. As the boss of the company, you don't own the company. Not all CEO members own the company. So you could be the owner of the company. You can still work for the company. You can still be the manager of the employees of the company. You can be an employee of the company while being the boss of the company, basically, which means that you could own the company that owns this car, but because you work for the company, when you get pulled over, you're just an employee. But when other people start talking to you, nah, that's mine, because the business is mine and everything that belongs to the business is mine. Now, legally, you don't own shit because the business owns that vehicle and you receive probably dividend distributions from the business that you own, but you are a executive founder of the business, which means that the business is a standalone entity, so they can't come after you if the business does something dirty. They can't come after you if the business vehicles do something dirty. However, this is one of the things that I just found out recently, is that you can have the vehicle in the ownership of a trust. You can lease the vehicle to the LLC, and then the LLC's insurance and the LLC will be the responsibility of the bad driving of the vehicle. Now, accidents happen. The LLC is liable for that, not the trust. Repossessions they're seeking repossessions. The LLC has the vehicle, not the trust has a vehicle, not the LLC. So they can't come and take the vehicle from the LLC because the LLC is borrowing it from the trust. But if any damage is done, the LLC pays the trust and the other person for the damage done to the vehicle. So if profits are being made from the profits are being made from the LLC. That's what it is. Profits are being made from the LLC. The LLC pays the trust for the vehicle, and then the people do their business with the LLC. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on with these things. So you could actually have one trust just for your cars, just for all your cars, trucks, and SUVs. You could have multiple trusts. That way you could have like your cheap vehicles in one trust and your expensive vehicles in another trust. And then you can lease those vehicles to some of your LLCs. And then your whatever LLC that's operating that vehicle can rent them and then pay the trust a monthly service fee, which then the trust would take that money and pay for the vehicle maintenance, right? That means that the LLC can write off the lease on the expenses. The trust can take the payments and take care of the vehicle and write off the difference. And both places benefit, but you as the individual, you just riding it out. You riding until the wheels fall off. there's a lot of stuff that's involved with this. This is exciting when I found out like what all goes into this. But the crazy part is that you got to afford to do all this stupid shit. And that's why we every week, every month, we talk about putting money in certain places so that we can make money for us, so that we have enough money to be able to afford to do all this craziness. Because up until we started doing what we were supposed to do, we never had enough money to get past, hanging out with the fellas on the weekend. Now that we're talking about investing in different countries every week, we're talking about investing in different assets every week. We're talking about economy shifts. And this is the year to dive into the economy shifts, where now we're going to see ourselves in the best position that we have ever been in. Because as everything is on a dip, we're buying in. And as we buy in, we're going to increase our revenue value. And once our discretionary funds start increasing after July, we're going to start taking those discretionary funds and reinvesting it so that we have more profit. And as we start seeing more profit, we start seeing more results. That's what we want to see. We want to see more results. So, and I tell you guys, we have some that are monthly dividend distributors. Those are going to be the ones I encourage everybody. If you're going to go down a route of doing monthly dividend distributing investment opportunities, you want to invest in the ones that cost the least to buy, that pay the most out every month, and then put your principal on them every month and take the dividends that you get from them every month and put that on the ones that are quarterly. Because the quarterly ones are going to give you less than the monthly ones, but you want to make sure that you still have both. You want to have quarterlies and you want to have monthlies. You want to have more than one. You want to have a few dozen of them if possible. You want to move your money around. And add the larger your dividend the larger the dividends you get from your stocks, the larger your buy-ins are going to be for your other stocks and ETFs, so that you see a bigger return. This is going to be one of the best things that you can do to put your money in places where you're not going to be struggling much longer. And if you're averaging between the rises and falls of all of the stocks that you have, if you're averaging 15 to 25% interest overall on your portfolio, then you're looking at, making a decent quantity, and you're looking at residual income. And that's one of the biggest goals, because you want to make sure that you set baby steps. You want to start by having like $500 a month coming back to you. Then you want to start having like $1,000 a month coming back to you. Then you want to start having like $1,500 a month coming back to you. But you don't want to put all your money into one thing, even if it looks like it could be a fantastic thing to have. Putting all your money in one thing, if that thing tanks, all your money is gone. So you want to put some of your money in a lot of different places, but you want to put the majority of your money in the surefire thing, or the highest paying thing, and then take the difference and put it into the other stuff. That way you can spread your money around. Now, another trust opportunity that we can utilize is LegalZoom. We've been talking about that one throughout this afternoon show. Now, this one is like a $279 for basic living trust and $299 for couples, where the pricing is going to vary depending on what all you guys are going to be doing, because the basic is $279. Now they got some more complex shit that costs a little bit more. Now these are going to be state specific trust documents. It's going to have a lot of customer support and optional attorney consultations for additional fees, where you can get more legal advice for the more complex stuff that you're trying to create. This might be one of those platforms that you would want to get into once you start transitioning from something basic, where it's just put all my bank accounts in there, put all my vehicles in there, put all my houses and everything in there, to like having specific trusts, doing specific things that is going to be moving money in the general direction of the one trust that pays me, and having all of this stuff end up where I don't have to personally pay taxes. That is what you're trying to accomplish there. Now, this one's going to have online creations and the customer support availability on weekends, which is better than some platforms that are only during the week. They have attorney plans available for the additional cost, and it has the BBB accredited, which is the B status, moderate, not high, because the AAA status is like 800 or 850 credit score. So this is like a moderate, like 750 credit score for Better Business from the Dun and Bradstreet. And they really emphasize support on the weekends with access to the legal professionals on the weekend. Now, Rocket Lawyer is something that a lot of people are going to recognize, and Rocket Lawyer is one of the things that a lot of us would go to for a quick legal document, because depending on what it is, we can look at the template on Rocket Lawyer a lot of the times, copy and paste it, and then put it into a Word document and stay free. And this one has a 7-day free trial. It's like $39.99 a month with membership. Now, the one of the things that I've come to notice is that you can start using some of these AI softwares like what was it? ChatGTP, Perplexity, all these other things, and specifically asked it to generate a legal document using legal jargon to create you a specific whatever you're trying to create, and it'll put it up for whatever city and state that you're using that document in, utilizing whatever case law that you want to utilize it for, or using any laws that you're trying to utilize it for, which allows you to generate a template for free, where you could then copy that and then move that to a Word document and then make the necessary changes that you needed to make without actually having to reach out to the lawyers to get a lot of $250 to $350 a month or per hour consultations in order for them to tell you the exact same information. Because a lot of this stuff is public knowledge. It's just something that the public doesn't look for, which is why we talk about it on This and That. Also, it's going to give you the ability to use living trust templates with that attorney support, digital signing like DocuSign, and legal and tax support, which will help you guys with getting stuff done. And in addition to that, it's going to create documents during the free trial or with the membership, which gives you access to the attorney consultations at a discounted rate, where the free trial and strong customer service have a wide range of accessibility to further legal documentation, which allows you to set your trust up very easily, where these platforms having such effective templates that cost anywhere between $100 to $400 to set up your trust, and including the guided questionnaires that you need to get things started, you would be able to customize your terms for beneficiaries, trustees, and asset distributions. Usman, special shout out to Usman. He done dove in. I've been looking for Usman for a while. We've a lot of different things, a lot of different ways. Usman just got here. So Usman said, attention, there will be tariffs on seafood and bananas. Shoo. Well, if they putting tariffs on seafood, you already know that soul food about to get expensive. Gumbo about to cost a ton. Soul food about to cost a ton. We're back here with Usman. It's been a while since he's jumped in, so we want to give a special shout out to my boy. He says, President, there'll be tariffs on most things. Xander, shit, trying to start my own community, but I can't make it look like a cult. Well, I can tell you what, I ain't gonna hold everybody captive for $40,000 talking about some Usher, close the door. Usher, close the door. Usher, close the door. Crazy. But I wonder exactly what are the tariffs on seafood right now? Because you said it. What are the tariffs on seafood? That would be interesting, because you have us flipping out. You have okay. Look, the one thing in the world that you can't do is put tariffs on watermelon, fried chicken, and seafood, because folks will be flipping out. Some it. All right. So as of April 2025, the U.S. have imposed a blanket of tariffs across 10% tariffs on all imported seafood, with much higher contrary specific tariffs for certain nations based on trade deficits. For example, the tariffs are 26% on Indian shrimp, 32% on Indonesian seafood, and 34% on Chinese seafood, and 46% on Vietnamese seafood. So y'all gonna see China one is gonna start charging y'all through the nose when y'all start going over there trying to get some food. India shrimp exports to the U.S. is now facing 26% tariffs, causing significant disruptions for Indian exports, and leading to price renegotiations and reduced demand. Canada and Mexico imports from as much as 25% tariffs, though some exemptions and delays have been negotiated. And the Chinese tariffs 104% on seafood, where some products, after multiple rounds of increases and retaliatory measures, are not really trying to do anything else. So tariffs are expected to raise U.S. seafood prices by up to 10% for many products, particularly for items like the shrimp, salmon, tilapia that have been heavily imported into the country, and the higher costs are likely to be passed on to the consumers in the upcoming months, making seafood less affordable and potentially shifting demand to alternative protein like chicken, baked and fried. So I'm telling y'all, as it happens, if I didn't bring it to you, Bayside, Cody D, and Usman's bringing it to us, because I tell you what, they come up in here and they come letting us know about stuff I ain't even know. So between OnlyFans being a Ukrainian supported government tax scenario and seafood being taxed in America, bruh, we're dealing with in the moment improvements. Usman said, Zanderville rule number one must be clothed suits throughout the year and satin suits in the summer. Oh, cloth suits. That's actually even better. You must have cloth suits throughout the year and satin suits in the summer. It must, you got to have those cotton and polyurethane ones in the wintertime, and you got to have the silk and satin in the summer. You got to be sparkling. Whew. Cody says, start a seafood restaurant too. Not now. You ain't starting no seafood restaurant. You only starting a seafood restaurant if you're trying to take a deficit. You started a seafood restaurant right now, charging cheaper prices than neighbors, so that you can offset all of your losses from the gains that you're making from other places. I probably would do some stupid shit like that. I probably would. If I had that kind of money to buy into a seafood scenario, I probably would pay the high-end prices so that I could write off the losses of the business. But I would ultimately be making more profits than I'm making losses, because if everybody else is going to raise their prices by 10% and I'm gonna have my prices 15% less than theirs, I could literally outsell everyone. I just wouldn't be making as much profits as everybody else. He says, also there will be tariffs on cherries and cocoa products. Hell, yeah, I remember we were talking about those cocoa products. Y'all could buy cocoa seeds and grow cocoa at your house. And I told y'all, if y'all took the cocoa seeds and y'all merged them with your cannabis seeds and had you some cocaine seeds, angel dust, trying to tell y'all can start turning some profits, because they got some states in the United States that are legally allowed to grow in your own backyard. So all you really got to do is just build you a grow center, and you just plant the products that they're charging you tariffs on, grow that shit in your backyard. The quantity of usage that you have on your daily consumption or monthly consumption is less than you think. So the cost of you growing it in your backyard, 2 or 3 bushels of all of the stuff that they're putting tariffs on, you could grow that in your backyard for a fraction of the price and have more than what you need 2 or 3 cherry plants. You don't eat cherries that often. 3 to 5 cocoa plants. You don't use that many cocoa beans to make coffee with. And 5 or 6 bushels of weed between what you smoke and what you drink. You will be good, bro. Xander already has his community leader preacher voice ready. You are not lying. I know how to get them in there. He said, grow cocoa plants in your backyard and cherry trees. Yes. Cocoa. If you got a big enough piece of property, and if you don't, go to Ukraine. You can buy for $10,000. You can buy a shit ton of acreage out there, and then you could just grow whatever you want. Remember this now. We were talking about Rocket Lawyer. With the Rocket Lawyer, you'll be able to draft these trust documents and name yourself a trustee. If you did this with creating your own trust, you're naming yourself as a trustee and designated a successor trustee where somebody else takes over if something happens to you. Typically, you want to put somebody that you trust as a designated successor trustee where this individual doesn't have to do anything until after you've passed on. When you start hiring a third party designated trustee, that individual gets paid a monthly fee to step up whenever it's time to step up. So they're just getting residual capital to be on standby just in case something happens. But if you've got like a best friend or, your must trusted child. Notice I skipped over the wife because the relationship is good now, but it typically goes south, and then you got to change all this information, and that starts becoming legally hard. He said, "Gotta go. See y'all next show. We're gonna be here straight tomorrow. God bless. Peace. 8888. All right. We'll see you tomorrow, Cody. Cody D." Now, you want to make sure that you list assets like real estate, bank accounts. You want to transfer them into the trust. And then you want to do like we were talking about before is notarize this. Even if the state doesn't require it, if you notarize it, it's a legal document that recognizes that the ownership has been transferred from one entity to the next. Then you want to fund the trust where you're retitling the assets. And this is going to be things like deeds and accounts where it's going to be now in the trust name. So you're going to retitle the assets such as legally transferring ownership from your individual name to the trust name by preparing new deeds. And you can draft a new deed, usually a quit claim or a warranty deed, and you're transferring ownership from yourself to the trustee of your trust. And the deed should read for example, John Doe as trustee of the John Doe Living Trust date, right? Something like that. And then you want to notarize the deed, sign the new deed before a notary in a public notary. So you can't be the notary. You have to make sure that you use a third-party notary. And then you want to be able to file the notarized deed with the county records office where the property is located at, only if the property is not mortgaged. Once you file it with the recorder, that triggers a sale situation where if the records are legally binding and you want to keep it private, you don't file it with the record department. But if you file it, then sale clauses kick into effect for any mortgage contracts that you have, which means that whatever the remaining balance of the mortgage is due, you got to give them that. If you own a property outright and then you do that, then it's not going to be an issue. But if you don't own the property outright and you do that, then it's going to trigger stuff. Same thing with your vehicles and other such. Upon sale, the person with leverage over your assets must receive payment of that asset. However, if you do it without recording it to the deed office or notifying individuals that a sale has been made, the original contract stays the same. It is off the record that the sale was that the transition has occurred, but you have legal documents that have been dated that show that the sale did occur. Now, what I recommend, because we're in a modern century, Um, You want to also make sure that while you're doing this, before I tell you the next recommendation, is that you want to ensure that the legal description matches the original deed exactly. So whatever it is that you're trading over is exactly one for one as to what they said that you had. And then you want to check with the HOAs and other lenders if the property has a mortgage, or in a homeowners association, and notify them about the transfer. And you're only required to notify them of the legal transfer in case they in the case that they're trying to take legal action on the property. Now, here's the thing. You don't tell anybody anything because it's a private sale. You don't got to report it. You just got to do it. And where was I going with this? When you set that kind of situation up and you have it transitioning from you to your entity, scan the documents into a PDF file. Then you want to save that document. Here's an interesting thing. Not too many people think about this, and this is like a left field thought process. We have a publicly accessible Gmail that we can all create for bullshit, but they give you like 1.5, 2 gigs of free data space before they start charging you for shit, right? Now, take into consideration that you could scan all of the documents that you need for your trust into your computer, and then you can save them into the Google Docs of the Gmail that is attached to your trust. Now, the Gmail can be the name, first and last name of the Gmail can be the trust. And then the Gmail can be the trust name. And then you can have like backup recovery emails, like your own personal email, where you can get back into it if you lock yourself out or something like that. But the fact is that the save space on that particular email is capable of you downloading it and saving it into your Google Drive, where if in the event somebody says, hey, blah, 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 this is mine. Well, if you scan it into your computer, label it with detail, then when something goes wrong, you type it into your computer to find those exact files to produce, to show that years ago, this was already sold. Whatever legal action that they're going to do as a creditor, they're going to do that, but they cannot seize property from you that you do not own. Now, there are going to be some legal workarounds that you got to do, and you got to talk to your lawyers about that. But if it was already moved, it ain't yours. The debt is still yours, but the asset is not yours. You just have possession of the asset. Same thing with cars and other such scenarios. They cannot come and seize what is not yours from you as payment for something that you personally owe. But we're going to try to get you guys to build your assets up so that you don't rent anything or finance anything from an entity, that you only lease them specifically, or buy them cash up front. I would recommend that you buy them cash up front and leverage your stock option for the cash loan. I also recommend that whatever it is that you're about to buy, that the value of what you're about to buy, you have 3 times more stock option available than whatever it is that you're trying to buy. So if you're trying to buy a $50,000 car, you should have $150,000 worth of stock. That gives you close to $50,000 a year worth of dividend payout. Well, that's 30%. So I would say probably $20,000 a year of dividend payout. But if it's giving you $20,000 a year dividend payout for a $50,000 a year card, it's probably going to have you pay $1,000 a month. You should be able to pay that $12,000 a year out of a $20,000 a year dividend payout. Now, that has nothing to do with your standard of living, because if you're trying to do your standard of living, you're probably going to try to have, off of a $50,000 car that you want to buy, you're probably going to try to have like a $300,000 stock sitting there, where 15 to 20% interest is going to give you anywhere between $30,000 to $45,000 a year in dividend distribution, so that you don't have to work, and you can buy this car, and you can pay off the loan, and it's a tax write-off. All of these things work out in your favor. Now, The bank accounts, you want to be able to contact your bank. You want to inform your bank of what you want to retitle your account in the name of the trust. Or what I recommend is that you just create a completely separate private trust account. Then you want to be able to provide the documents, submit everything that you're going to be having, the certificate of the trust and everything to that effect, complete the forms for the bank, and then the money that's in that account belongs to the trust. Or if you complete a separate account, you can just send the money to that account and then do you a Schedule K that shows, hey, I donated money to the trust, and that's a tax write-off. Where you keep your personal bank accounts and you have a separate trust account where they don't intertwine at all. And from what I understand, I think the only thing that the trust cannot pay for is your clothes and your food, but everything else, it's payable. So if you're buying food from the business and you're buying clothes for work and the trust is paying for everything else, hey, it is what it is. If the trust owns everything and leases it all out, and then the LLC or the C corporation pays for the leases of the stuff, like leases to the house, stuff to that effect. Like, for example, say you're getting cash dividends in from your stocks. You sold the house to the trust. The trust is leasing you the house for a certain quantity of money per month. The amount of money per month that you're getting is going to go to the trust, which pays for the mortgage, pays for property taxes, if you have any, and all this other stuff, right? House insurance, all this other stuff, right? Property maintenance, whatever. Dishes and everything else that's inside of the house. If all of that stuff is part of the house maintenance cost and you're paying a monthly payment to the trust to pay for the maintenance of all of this stuff, then when you pay that bill, that's a debt paid. The trust takes the money that it got from you. Instead of it being a profit, it's paying for the operation. That's a debt paid. Where the money came in and went right back out on a debt, there was a zero profit, which means that the trust doesn't have to pay taxes on the income that came in. That sets you up with a positive benefit. Now, one of the things that I've also noticed is that if you have the trust in the name of an individual that is over the age of, I think, 68 or 70, in some states they have tax exemptions and they have freezing of tax requirements. Now, if you tell the local government that you sold the house to a trust, the trust doesn't have an age on it, which means that it starts going back to being taxed. This is another reason why you would not notify the title companies of the change, because as long as the house is in the name of the tax exempt individual, until the local government receives a death certificate that warrants them to start taxing the property to the new property owner, the property will continue to be non-taxed. Once a death certificate is produced to the local government to say, hey, now the property is taxable, well, it's in a trust now. And then they'd be like, oh, well, in comparison to how much the trust makes versus how much the trust spends, that's how much taxes that is required to be paid on that trust. Well, you could still be in a situation where you might not have to pay taxes on the property. So take a look at those tidbits of information as well. Next up, we're going to be looking at the ownership. So while the bank will update the records that reflects the trust ownership of any accounts, or just recognize if you set up new private trust accounts that there is no record of ownership because you want it to be off the books. You want to make sure that you contact your brokers, make sure that they know that you have sold the information over. You're going to be submitting forms, doing change of ownership, stuff to that effect. It's a little bit harder to do with fintech accounts. And certain fintech accounts are exclusive to private users, which means that you're not going to be able to switch over a private user account to a second entity. But what you can do, again, like I said before, is if your private fintech account funnels money to the trust account directly, then you can do a Schedule K for any money that went to the trust account. So you could do some stuff like upload your money from your personal bank account to your investment opportunities, and then take the dividends and transfer them over to the trust, and then just document every time you send money to the trust. So you never got any money back from your stock option. All of the profits from the stock option went to the trust, and you just got to label, document everything, QuickBooks style, keep notations of all of the stuff that came in and went out, and then you'll be able to make sure that if any event that people start asking questions, IRS audits and other such, you've got detailed documents, which is another reason why I was telling you, if you create a email just for the trust, you got a couple gigs of space there to store all of the financial documents that you need for this trust. Now, if you're keeping legal, legitimate documents of all of the activities of the trust, well, yeah, people can hack into your cloud and run off with your stuff and blah, 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 blah. But I mean, you don't have anything incriminating in there. So it doesn't really matter if they snatch a copy of the shit, because as soon as somebody asks about what you got going on with your operation, because you're above board on whatever you're doing, you're going to be printing the shit out and handing it to them anyway. And as soon as you submit something to the court as evidence, it becomes public record anyway. So you want to make sure that you're like, hey, this is this, that is that, and this is what we've got going on. And this way, if any event of audit comes up, you can show them all the paperwork and say, nah, I'm above board. Look. Now, if you're doing something shady, you probably want to keep all of your personal information on a thumb drive, and keep that thumb drive like around your neck or something to that effect, where can't nobody access it, where nobody knows that this stuff exists. Keep it on one of them first gen Apple computers with a floppy disk that's never connected to the internet or some weird stuff like that. You could do that. Then if you have any other assets like vehicles, you want to be able to check with the DMV and make sure that you transfer titles and ownerships to the trust. They're going to potentially require the date of birth of the original owner to be the date of renewal of the registration of the vehicle, because entities don't have birth dates. So they may require it to be renewed on your birthday, even if you don't legally own the thing, but it doesn't really matter. It's just showing that it's a renewal date. That's fine. If nothing is in my name, but everything is renewed on my birthday, I'm going to do it 2 months sooner. Usually they allow you 90 days to renew your registration. So, you know, if your birthday is at the end of the year, you can do that shit in September and renew everything for the next 2 years. And they're going to be like, sweet. You got like 2028 tags on the back of your car, 2025. Ain't nobody asking you no questions. This is going to be registered for a while. Your life insurance and retirement accounts, you want to make sure that you change the beneficiary designation to your trust, not your own personal ownership. That way, if any event that something happens, the trust gets the money. So you can set up a trust after you have been placed as a beneficiary of a life insurance policy. Then if you create the trust after the fact, you just have to go to that life insurance policy, change the beneficiary to the trust. And that is one of the biggest keys of getting a trust, is that you end up not having to pay that probate tax, which is usually somewhere around 10 to 20% taxes on probate. So if you got $1 million policy, you got to give up between $100,000 and $200,000 in probate to claim the insurance on the trust. But if it goes to the trust instead of coming straight to you, it can go to the trust and then go to you, and then, you know, you ain't got to worry about probate. Now, you want to make sure that you keep your documents together. You want to have your trust documents and everything easily accessible, which is why I'm telling you guys to put it in some type of format where you can upload it upon demand, something that can't get caught in a flood, something that can't get caught in a fire, something that can't get caught if your laptops get stolen or damaged. It can be somewhere where you can still access it from a new device, from a new location. That's why I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, let's put it up into an email as a backup scenario in the cloud. It's a good place to put it, because it's not secret documents that you don't want anybody to have. It's legal documents that you want to be able to access when somebody challenges their ability to take your assets from you, or the assets that you control. You want to be able to show this information that they can't take it from you, because these documents say that they can't take it from you. So it doesn't matter where it's at, as long as you can get your hands on it when it's time for you to show the judge and everybody like that. Always use formal trust names and that are shown in your trust documents when you're setting everything up. You don't want to use any doing business as kind of names. You want whatever you call your trust, or whatever formal name you call your trust, that's how you want to identify the ownership in every document that you have. So, You know, if you use a stupid or inappropriate name for your trust and you're embarrassed by that now and you want to abbreviate it to something else, it doesn't work that way. You have to use the full-on jackass name that you used to create your trust. So make it something appropriate that you feel respected by. I encourage you not to use your personal name on a trust, because if you use your personal name on a trust, that could potentially link the trust back to you. You want to use a trust name that does not directly correlate with you so that nobody knows who owns the trust. And then after you complete all of these requirements, where different institutions have different forms that you're supposed to be able to fill out, make sure you get everything notarized, and then list all of the assets that you have that are documented. And this is not going to be the last thing that you're going to do. You're going to have to complete the legal transfers so the trust actually owns the assets, and make sure that you consult with some professionals about some of the complex assets that you have, or if you have any questions about tax implications when you do make some of these changes, such as when you're changing from an asset that is owned by an elder that is exempt from taxes to the trustee that is not going to be exempt from taxes. You have statutory trust that costs from $0 to $200. If you provide free statutory trust forms, you can fill those out. Those are simplified processes for small estates with no attorney needed. The cons are that they have limited flexibility and they're only available in some states like Texas and Florida. And you will be able to download those forms offline. Check your state bar associations and websites for the free templates. You fill them out with your notaries, turn them in, and then you also have totem trust, which is payable on death accounts, where it's $0 to set up, and it automatically transfers assets to a named beneficiary upon date. The cons about this: it only applies to financial accounts, so not real estates or other stuff like that. So if you've got bank accounts, stock options, all this other stuff, you can use totem trust, and that puts everything up. And then whatever they want you to pay is going to happen upon death. This one is going to be something that you're going to be going to your bank and specifically requesting to add a payable on death designation to your accounts. And you're looking at the cost that they're going to be doing for those is $100 to $500 for revocable living trust, $0 to $200 for the statutory trust, and $0 upon entry for the totem trust styles, where everybody sets stuff up where if you kick the bucket, everything that's in this account goes to somebody else. This also helps if you're siblings and you have a family member that you're the power of attorney on, and you contact their bank and you let the bank know that, hey, this goes to the X, Y, and Z beneficiary upon death. Or if you go to that bank and you make yourself the power of attorney over the estate, if in the event that somebody dies and payments happen and you withdraw all the money out of the account as a power of attorney from the account and then close down the account, you pull all the money out of the account first. Then upon the account closing, upon withdrawing all the money from the account, then you send them the death certificate that shows them that the person has passed, and close down all of the accounts. And that prevents any further funds from going to that particular account. That way, you individuals that are still collecting Social Security disability benefits from dead people, y'all won't be getting caught up with the IRS, because now Donald Trump is watching. Make sure that the complex estates, included blended families, business assets, and taxes are included when you're hiring an attorney. Irrevocable trust is going to be included when you're hiring an attorney. And remember that the legal procedures is going to cost you as much as $2,000. So for straightforward needs, your do-it-yourself trusts are cost efficient, but always review documents with a professional, which they sometimes charge between $150 and $300 an hour to avoid errors. Now, the main point of everything we were talking about today was that Ukraine has a lot of things to offer, from its thriving tech sectors to its rich natural resources and growing real estate markets. So while there are challenges to investing in Ukraine, the potential for returns is significant, like 4 times more than American investments at this point, because America is doing a little over 4% and Ukraine is doing 16.4%. So it's a lot. And Ukraine is offering a rare combination of low entry costs, high growth potentials, and governmental backed incentives across agriculture, tech, real estate, and mining. So whether you're seeking a speculative play or a long-term growth story, the statistics and current prices show that Ukraine's investments landscape is open for business. And the window of opportunity is now, right now during the depression. So whether you're interested in agriculture, technology, real estate, or the next big thing in rare materials, Ukraine is offering a diverse array of opportunities. The key is to do your homework, leverage local expertise, and approach each investment with a spirit of curiosity and reliance. So what do you guys think? Are you ready to explore Ukraine's hidden investment gems? Share your thoughts below. And if you are curious about other emerging markets, be sure to check out my next deep dive into the fast changing economies of other areas of Eastern Europe, because we're going to be talking about some of those coming soon. With that being said, I really appreciate everybody coming to the show tonight. Special shout out to Cody D, Usman, Bayside, and Mr. Satellite. We got to run because we actually have a 4-minute outro, and I got something to do in 2 minutes. So thank you, ladies. As long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking y'all to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. We're still at about 70% followership for the fellas. I really appreciate you guys, because male-driven podcast from a male's perspective on business, finance, and social improvement. 7 nights a week, 10 o'clock Central Time, 11 o'clock Florida Time, 7 o'clock California Time, 4 a.m. Green Minutes Time, and 4 a.m. Universal Standard Time. So with that being said, thank you for coming to This Nat. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. vision, my